Great Scott, it's a DeLorean. See you in 1988. This is a new user guide series where I show you the ins and outs of some interesting cars. Starting off with the DeLorean. Quite excited about this because Back to the Future was my favourite film, but I don't want to talk about the time machine because this is just a standard road car. So I want to go and give a bit of a user's guide, a bit of an in and out of what all the bits do, what all the buttons do, how to get in, how to operate the doors, all that kind of thing, and I want to show you all that. Firstly, here's the keys. Not very special, but that is a DeLorean key. It's another thing you rarely see. So, yeah, let's dig in. First thing, door handle. Follow that line along, and the door handle is part of that line. So you lift it up. Just watch, because these are quite springy, because they're gas struts. When you open them, they can flick up a bit. So just hold the pressure, if you like, with your hand, and then lift them up. It's not something that people open very often, is a gull wing door, and that is probably the most interesting part about this car. The body's made from stainless steel. A lot of people think it's aluminium, but it's not. It's brushed stainless steel. It's something that you'd probably clean with a Brillo pad, something like that. Yeah, so let's get inside. There's a way to get in these, and they're never graceful because you've got the handbrake there sticking up as you get in. If the handbrake's down when you come to the car, it's a lot easier. If the handbrake's up, some cars with handbrakes on this side, they'll be like a fly off, so they'll go back down. DeLorean doesn't. DeLorean stays up and catches your leg on the way in. So you don't want to pull the handbrake off just in case you're on the hill. So you have to navigate the handbrake. So put one hand on the back of the seat, one leg in, and then squeeze yourself down, avoiding the handbrake. Once you're in, lovely quilted, I don't know if it's leather, it's pleather or something, isn't it? I don't know what it is. But they're quite comfy seats actually, to be honest. So in the cockpit, I'll show you what all the little buttons do. Got a little light there to tell you that the gull wing door's open. It's a little picture of a DeLorean with the gull wing door open. I'm not sure what the dashboard's out of. I think it might be some kind of Lotus because they do share a lot of parts. Instrument panel here, we got air conditioning. These are the lights. So you push them in and the lights come on. And then on the stalk here, you got your main beam and horn. So because these are really well made cars, the little switches are a little bit dodgy. On this side, you got your hazard switch. Original stereo in this one. Probably doesn't work, but there's an aerial making a noise somewhere, but I don't think it's working on this one. What else have we got? Windscreen wipers. Now I don't know if anyone knows this about the DeLorean, but the actual spraying bar on a DeLorean is really nice. So I'm going to show you that. I'm sorry if I get you wet, Chris, but look at that. It's like a star spray. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but we'll do another shot after. We got some switches here, electric windows. Now the electric windows on a DeLorean are very, very small. Probably the smallest electric window I've ever seen. So I'll show you how those are. There's the passenger one there and the driver's one here. There's a little ashtray here in the center console. The center console, normally on cars, you've got storage, but this is a big transmission tunnel coming from the back forward, so there's not going to be much storage in there. That's like transmission. Gearbox, it's a 5-speed gearbox, so first, second, third, fourth and fifth all in the usual place. Then to get reverse, you put it all the way over to the left, lift it up, sorry, push it, I can't remember, lift it up and then put it into reverse. That took me a while to find the first time. So lights off on the really good switch, DeLorean switch. Indicators in the usual place. Yeah, aircon. We've got aircon in this and it works. There's quite a few different settings for the aircon, and a few different ways that the air comes out at you. It's all electronic. It all seems to work on this one, but I bet a lot of them don't. Through 4-stage fan. Right, on this side, I'll show you where the battery is. I'll come over that side now. Over on the passenger side. You lift the seat up, lift this flap up here, and then behind this wooden panel is your battery. And that battery is held in with like a big strap. So that's where that is. This one's got a charger on it, a trickle charger on it. That's what that is there. You've got a bit of storage in the back here with a storage net. And this looks like the ideal place to store your DeLorean workshop manual, in this little like bin thing here. So that's where that lives. You always need that because there isn't many people that work on DeLoreans, especially in the UK. So yeah, that's your boot basically. So you could get a couple of duffel bags in there and go on holiday. I'd say go for a night out, go for a night away with the missus. Maybe put a dog there, lying flat. So yeah, that's where all that is. And then this dash cover isn't original. This is done by a company, especially for this, because what these are prone for is cracking the dash. So this just keeps the sun glare off it, just protects the dash a little bit. And here you got a little glove box, which you could fit some gloves in, but that's about it. Fire extinguisher, that's not original, but it's always handy to have. So next we'll pop the front frunk, or whatever you want to call it, front boot, the frunk. So there's a little lever under here that you pull. I've got a torch because it's quite far down under there. So to open the front bonnet, boot, whatever you want to call it, grab it in the middle, help it up, it's on gas struts. Now here we've got some more, there's quite a lot of space in here, but it's not very deep, but you have got space here that you could put things on, put bags and things like that, shopping. Under there, we've got the brake master cylinder, under that little cover. This is your spare wheel. I've never seen a DeLorean with a spare wheel on, but that is a weird looking spare wheel, that, isn't it? We've got the fuel flap, that's where the fuel goes in. So some people cut this bit out and make a little hinge there, and then you can fuel up without lifting the bonnet completely. But this one must be an early one where it hasn't had the cutout done, or they haven't modified it to take that. So when you come to fuel it up, you do need to lift the whole bonnet on this one. Another little blank there. And on this side, that is power steering, I think. Or is that clutch? That one's clutch fluid. This is the windscreen washer. That's where that goes. Stick your screen wash in there, and then you get your cool wipers. In here is where the jack and the wheel chock should be. So there, that's all original. Been eaten by an American mouse or some kind of American rodent. So all the toolkit is all in this little case. I won't get it all out, but that's where it is. So in here, this little lever here is what opens the engine compartment. So just grab that, give it a good pull, and it's open. So there's two parts to this. First part is this engine cover, which you just flick that, So that's one cover. Then the next cover that we've released is this one. That goes up like that. And then here is how you lock it in place. You just push that up and then it stays like that. So this is the mighty 2.8 litre V6 Renault stroke Volvo engine with a hair curling 130 horsepower. Not really, they're not very fast, very underpowered, and not that reliable. But if you look after them, same with anything, it should be all right. So yeah, in here you got your header tank there. There's a way of jump starting it because the battery's inside there. You can jump start it from the engine bay underneath that cover there and on that little peg there. This is the air filter box. This is the fuel injection. Air conditioning pump here. Belt is off that at the moment because we've been doing some work on it. These pipes here are the radiator pipes. They go all the way to the front of the car, both sides. So the radiator's in the front because it's rear engine. All the wiring loom goes all the way down there. And there's a few intake holes here where the air intakes come from, and they're in the back of the wing here on each side, and it sucks the air in from there. Light here, but I think the bulb has gone on this one, but that is like your engine bay light in case you get a problem. This back end is quite famous as well. This looks like a stained glass window almost. All these little squares on the lights. Very hard to get hold of. This one's been repaired slightly there because they're so hard to get hold of. So these wheels are very iconic. These multi-spoke wheels, they were made especially for the DeLorean. And they are, the rear ones are a 235 60/15, which is a really odd size. 15's not that big a wheel, but you've got a big tyre on it. So the fronts are one size, and sorry, the rears are one size and the fronts are another size. So these are a 195 60/14, which is not only a smaller wheel, but it's a really odd tyre as well to have on the front of one of these. Same design, just that one's slightly, the rear ones are slightly more dished, but it's a real iconic wheel that you won't see it on anything else. So because of this is a big gull wing door and it sticks out in the road, you got these little outline markers that light up all the way around. And then there's a certain way to close a DeLorean door. So if you ever open one without the owner's permission, just make sure you close it properly. Because it's a big door and it moves quite a lot. What can happen is, if you pull it down in the wrong place, the door will twist slightly and it'll slam into the catches, which are here and here. So there is a way of doing it, and that is, hold the door handle here, and then put your hand just by the lock, just above the lock, and close it like that. That won't smash against any of the locks or anything, it will close nicely. And the owner will be very happy that you've done it like that. So we've just fitted a clutch into this DeLorean. So we're just going to make sure that everything's all right. Everything's been bled up. There's a hydraulic clutch. Thrust bearing was seized on it, which I'll show you after. And it was making a hell of a racket. Probably because it's been stood in a desert somewhere in America for so long. So I'm not going to do a full-on road test and talk about how it handles and all that stuff, because that's probably been documented quite a lot before. But we'll just run it up the road quickly, just make sure that all the gears work and the clutch is working. It's quite a clunky gearbox, but if you're firm with it and precise, it does go in quite nicely. But you got to be firm. You can't hesitate, otherwise it'll miss the gear. I think that's just driving an old 80s vehicle. You just got to be precise with all the gear changes and making sure the clutch is fully down before you change gear and everything. It's just normal driving, really. But yeah, everything seems good. For a DeLorean, it feels quite tight, really. I expected it to be a bit more wallowy, but then again, we're not really going far. We're just going up the estate and back just to make sure everything's all right, and just so part of the just a part of the episode, just so you can see inside the car and it being driven. We're on private land here, so we're just going up and down the estate. So I won't be able to probably get all the gears, but I just wanted to check I can get most of them. Which I can, so success. So we're going to bring it back into the workshop now, and I'm going to put it on the ramp, and I'm going to show you how you put it on the ramp, and show you and tell you why there's a certain way of doing it. It's left-hand drive this, so lucky I've driven a lot of left-hand drive cars, but if you haven't driven left-hand drive cars, you've got to be aware where the car is, where that corner is. And also, if you're working on a 2-post strap, so this is how you do reverse, I'll show you this. You pull it up like that. You have to use 2 hands to do it even. Pull it up like that into reverse. And there we go, backwards. But what you got to remember in a DeLorean is before you put it on the ramp, you have to open the door, because otherwise you can't open the door. Right. There's a certain way to put these on a ramp. And the reason for that is because it's a this chassis is the same as a Lotus Esprit of this era, so it's got its own chassis, and then obviously this is all sat on top. But I think it might actually be a Lotus one, because Colin Chapman was involved. Lotus Colin Chapman, and him and John DeLorean did dodgy things together, I think. Don't quote me on that. But if you jack just one side up of one of these, it can twist the body, and that means you can crack the windscreens, crack all this bit, and things can go out of line. So it's not recommended to just jack one side of these up. If you're going to jack them up, it's best to jack them all up. And there's special pads underneath of where to jack it. So I'll show you that now. I might not be able to show you until I put it up, but we'll do that, and then I can show you once it's up in the air. But you got to make sure it's all flat. So each point is right in the corner here, and they've got like a metal insert. So there's one there. One here as well. It's quite low, this car, so I've got to wind these right in. So there's the other one there, right on the corner. 2 others on the other side. So that's all level now, and all 4 corners have got pads on them. So let's send it up. So it's kind of got like a bit of a flat floor under here. It's all this like fiberglass, and then here's the heater pipes going up to cool the engine, one on each side, and then the radiators at the front, so they're coming all the way through the car. This is the gearbox. So gearbox is mounted in the back of the car, facing forward. Now we've just had this out. I can show you, I can tell you briefly how we got it out. The good thing is these were bolted on. These drive shafts are bolted into the box, so you don't lose any fluid that way. So you unbolt those each side. You unbolt the mounts here. You disconnect the handbrake cable. You've got to pull these 2 panels off here. Then you undo the bell housing bolts and then pull the gearbox off. I mean, it's not quite that straightforward. It is a bit fiddly, but it does come out all right. The one really hard part about doing the gearbox on a DeLorean is this plate here. There's like a little plate to stop dirt going into the gearbox. The little bolts on those are really awkward to get to. You have to have little fingers, and you have to like kind of bend yourself around and get them in. But it is doable. Now this box, when we had it out, was full of mud wasp larvae, because this car sat in the Texan or Arizona, Texan desert before it came to the UK. So they'd made their little homes in there. They weren't alive, they were all dead, but the bell housing, there's a hole here where you can see the flywheel through, and they'd flown in there and they'd just filled the inside of the bell housing. So that was quite interesting. But I suppose that's what you get for when you get a desert car that lives in a warm country, a dry import. as they call it. So yeah, this is the chassis that I was talking to you about, the Lotus Esprit. I think I said that last time, that's what I meant. Anyway, it's Esprit, 80s Esprit. That goes all the way down there. So this is where the strength is, really. But the pads I was telling you about, they are under each corner here, and they've got like a metal insert, so that it's the strongest part to lift on. I mean, ideally the strongest part would be the middle, the chassis in the middle, but you can't always get to there on a ramp like this, so they've made these the lifting points. I can put some brief specs on screen so you know, if you want to know, horsepower figures and things like that, weight, length. I can put all that on if you want to know that. I will put that on. Here's the clutch that I was telling you about. Just a normal type clutch, but that is the thrust bearing, and that had seized. You can see there where it had been rubbing on the metal, and it was making a hell of a noise. So they're quite common for seizing, apparently. There's the clutch plate. There's the main seal that we changed behind the flywheel, just a precaution. And there's the spigot bearing. Changed that as well. So now that me and Doc are back in 2024, I hope you enjoyed my first user guide episode of the DeLorean. If you've got any interesting cars that we can use as a user guide, just get in touch, and we'll do some more of these. I quite like it. Now I fall off.